Yo, what's up, good people? You guys are fans of YouTube channels like Sports and Fitness Rants, Uncut Hoops, Angry Old Hoops fans, Man Down Sports, Uncommon Sense, Michael Jordan fans are the best. Well, this is kind of like what I like to call an auxiliary channel, okay? This is to support those guys. Trying to give them ammunition. I try to end this stupid LeBron debate crap once and for all. At the very least, stop trying to tear down Michael Jordan because you don't know what you're talking about, okay? What Michael Jordan did in his career was historic. I have so many examples of why he should be the greatest of all time. What he accomplished in his era was greater than any other player in any other era. Bill Russell is the only person to have a legitimate argument in that debate in my mind. Certainly not LeBron James. In this video, I'm going to talk about Scottie Pippen in the 1998 season and what Michael Jordan did to carry the Bulls when Pippen was out and even when Pippen came back. Okay, Pippen, as we all know, we saw The Last Dance. He was out the first 35 games of the season. I believe it was an ankle, knee, whatever it was. He had surgery. So he missed almost half the season. Jordan had to carry the load. They got off to a little bit of a slow start. Sorry, got sinus issues. Before Pippen came back, the Bulls were 24-11. Okay, they were doing good without Pippen. They were on pace to be one of the top 2 seeds even without Pippen. Not saying they would have ended up there. We'll never know. Again, I only deal in facts, things that I can prove, things that actually happened, not things I think would have happened, whatever, just things that would have happened. Even when Pippen came back after the 35 games, his first game against Golden State, he was 4 for 11. He had 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 1 for 5 3-point shooting. And he played 30, 40 minutes right away. The next game against Seattle, he goes 3 for 15, 0 for 5 on 3 with 4 turnovers, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Pretty pedestrian for Pippen. His shooting is not there. I know, well, he needs time to get back. Well, how many games does he need? The next game against Philly, he's 7 for 18, 1 for 6 on 3 with 4 turnovers. The next game against Milwaukee, 6 for 15, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He has a good game against Houston. I think he goes 8 for 12. The next game, Charlotte, 5 for 17. This is what I'm talking about. Utah, 7 for 19, 1 for 8, 3-point shooting. He had 13 points when they played at the Lakers. They played Utah later in the year. He goes 4 for 10, 9 points. And this is just like the first 15 or so games that he's back. Toronto, 1 for 7 was for 6 points. And then in the playoffs, hold on. All right, sorry about that. I'm actually at work. Typically in the morning I'm left alone, but had somebody come in here. But it's about the only time I really have. I'm busy at night. That's why I'm in my office here. Luckily I'm the boss, so I can get away with some things. Anyway, back to Scottie Pippen, 1998. Going into the playoffs, the first couple rounds, Pippen did okay. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Pippen averaged 15.7 points on 41% shooting. He was 6 for 26 on 3-pointers. So he was decent, but again, this is the number 2 player. It put so much strain and pressure on Michael Jordan to try to pull this out, and that's why it took 7 games. Now, granted, the Reggie Miller push-off, and I think that was game 4. If that's disallowed, then they call a foul on Reggie. The Bulls probably win that in 5, but that's not what happened. Again, we're not going to deal in probably, might have, could have, only in things that actually happened. The ref didn't call a foul against Reggie Miller. The Pacers did win game 4. Bulls won game 5, Pacers 6, and then the Bulls won it in 7. Now, in the, I had that backwards. Eastern Conference Finals, Scottie Pippen averaged 16.6 on 39.2% shooting, 5 for 25 3-pointers. He had 37 assists with 21 turnovers, so he was averaging 3 a game. In the finals, 15.7 points, 41% shooting, 6 for 26 three-pointers. So in that season, Michael Jordan had to deal with Scottie Pippen not being there for the first 35 games, had to deal with the next 10 games of him transitioning to get into basketball shape and to get his game back. He won the All-Star MVP. He won the regular season MVP, which was probably his most deserving of his whole career, and this is at 35 years old. He won the scoring title again, first team all-defense again. They get the number 1 seed. They win the championship. He gets the finals MVP, and they complete their second three-peat. And this is another point I never hear people drive home. I hear people in these big networks, the Skip Baylesses, the Chris Broussards, they just keep harping on 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. Yes, that's true, and that is great, and that should be something that isn't normal, like normalized, kind of like Bill Russell. Everybody tries to make sense of it because it was so long ago, and there was only 8 teams, blah, 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 but the fact is, Bill Russell dominated that era. The Celtics dominated. They won 11 of 13, and there was some stiff competition in there, some all-time great players, great teams that they were going up against, and they just beat everybody essentially, except for the best team of the entire decade, the 67 76ers. That's another video that I'll be doing later. I'm going to get into some Bill Russell stuff. But as far as what Michael Jordan did in 98, and the Bulls, by completing that second three-peat, they became the only franchise in NBA history, I looked this up, to have 2 separate championship winning streaks of 3 or more. Boston won 8 straight. That's 1 streak though, and obviously 8 is way better than 3 or even the 2 three-peats combined. I'm not disputing that at all. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is to lose and then start another 3 championship winning streak has never been done. No franchise has ever done it, let alone do it in an 8-year span. So the only three-peats that I'm aware of was the Lakers back in the 50s with George Mikan. The Celtics did it in the 60s. They did win a back-to-back in 68-69, but that was just the 2. The other three-peats were the Bulls 91-93, Bulls 96-98, and then the Lakers from 2000 to 2002. Those are the only streaks of 3 consecutive championships in NBA history. The Bulls are the only franchise to do it, at least in the same decade. I guess the Minneapolis Lakers and the LA Lakers, you could say they got 2 three-peats. Okay, fine. Definitely no top 75 players have that, except for Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. But Michael Jordan carried the Bulls in 98 at 35 years old. His shooting stats weren't as good because defenses were game planning against Jordan because they knew stop Michael Jordan, you beat the Bulls. Easier said than done, agreed. But he had a lot of pressure on him specifically in that season. Tony Kukoc helped some. He definitely helped when Pippen wasn't there. And in the Indiana Pacers, he really stepped up. But basically, Jordan was doubling any teammate that he had. He just didn't have the scoring help that some of the other players, all-time greats, had. Some of these teams that won championships just didn't have it. You know, he didn't have a Kyrie Irving to lean on or an Anthony Davis to lean on. You know, Pippen was only going to get you about, 18, 20 points. That's where he was his whole career. Even when he was the man in 94, even though it was really more of a collective thing, that's just not who Pippen is. Pippen isn't a Dominique Wilkins. He's not a, Clyde Drexler. He's not a guy that's just going to carry a team offensively. It's not who he is. Even being the number 2, there were times where if his three-pointer isn't falling, he was a little limited on what he could do. And I'm not going to bash Pippen. He was obviously huge, in the Bulls' success. Defensively, he was probably just as good as Michael Jordan. I mean, there's some things Jordan was better at, some things Pippen was better at. Jordan is also, I think, one of 3 players, Olajuwon and Jordan, the others, to have the 200 steals, 100 block season. I think he did do that. I think he had like 200 and 2 steals and 101 blocks. He just made it, but he did get that done. He led the league in steals one time. You know, he was always right there, top 3, top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year. He was vital to their team's defensive success, no doubt about it. He was a facilitator. But when he was out, you know, I don't want to say the Bulls didn't miss a beat, but they were 24-11 without Pippen. And again, they were winning when Pippen first came back, when he's shooting 4 for 11 and 3 for 15 in his first 2 games back. You know, it took him about 10 games to really get his game back. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. 1998 was an historic season for the Bulls and for Michael Jordan. Probably his most impressive season as far as value. You really saw the value of what Michael Jordan was and what he did for that team in 1998. And I don't think it gets stressed enough. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope to make more. Again, I'm the auxiliary. I'm just the guy that you want to come to for some information, anything you can use. I've done so much research, spent hundreds of hours on this. You know, I've got into some debates of people at work about it, so I decided to look into it. And I've fact-checked a lot of people on a lot of things, and I found some things out that people were wrong about, or they either exaggerated about, they were flat out wrong and lying about, or there's a lot of things that people just don't talk about that I'm like, wow, that really happened? So anyway, all right, that's it.